Bonjour, je m'appelle Vesper Cognac, stratégie en design. Je te prends le design graphique et l'art de la stratégie. Today we're reviewing and analyzing Doja Cat's newest album, V. This is Doja Cat's 5th studio release, and it comes off the heels of her previous project, Scarlet, where I personally got to see more of Doja Cat's world building and experience curation and creating a cohesive sound that is telling a story. V definitely leans into that by creating an experience rooted in primarily 80s feels and nostalgia. The album is described by her as talking about love, a little bit sexy, and giving people a little bit more intimate look into her life. My expectations, I kind of didn't have any. The first single, Jealous Type, I wasn't really fully sold, and I really didn't care for it. Also, with this whole 80s aesthetic and 80s vibe, I wasn't too sure how I would feel about that, particularly because I've heard, not to compare directly, but Tyler the Creator's project, and although I enjoyed that project, I realized that it wasn't something that I would actively go back to and listen to again. Now, when it comes to the album composition as a whole, it's 15 songs at about 49 minutes of runtime, and I feel like everything tells a cohesive story. The opening song, Cards, is a nice introduction of what you should expect for the album. The closing track, Come Back, ties everything up nice and neat and feels the cohesive theme. Sonically, the album feels more rhythmic, maybe more of like an R&B tone or like a funk soul tone. The saxophones and the synths were working overtime in this production, but I do enjoy how everything came together. There was a bit of electric guitar in here too, which was a nice add-in for certain tracks. And I think that the theme of love became ever present. Even for me listening for this the first time, it actually made me cry. Songs like Stranger and Lipstain personally like really affected me. I think the writing of this, and Doja Cat is the only writer for this, it felt like reading somebody's diary. It felt like very personal. It made me curious to who the muse or the muses, if that's the plural of muse, were for this album, but I don't care enough to go research. It was very interesting to hear her perspective on love, and it comes, for me personally, it reads as somebody who's had a chance to evolve and mature and be introspective and truly understand what love is contextually for them, both the experience of loving someone else and then loving yourself. Because there's a lot of tracks here, like All Mine, that talk about and hint at manifestation and truly get at the root of what manifestation is, taking action towards those things that you want. That whole theme of being the curator of one's destiny is present throughout the album. I like that Doja Cat has stayed true to her kind of chronically online or internet persona by having references to Leroy Jenkins and something being here before GTA 6. So those are some really funny instances that I enjoy throughout this album. One of my favorite tracks personally is the only feature that she has on the album, and it's with SZA. It's called Take Me Dancing. I have worn this song out so heavily. SZA's voice complements and also provides a nice contrast to Doja Cat's voice as well. I think the reason why a lot of people say that Doja Cat isn't a rapper is because she does have this really, really great quality, and it's an added advantage of being her own feature. So whenever she's singing these songs, they sound so soft and melodic and very, very nice and dainty and elegant. And then that's what she always has to add in her yeah, to break it up and let you know that she's gonna start rapping. And sometimes the raps are a little bit more softer and melodic to match the scene. Other times they're a little bit more gritty and more rough. Some of them reminded me, since they are a lot of samples from funk, of like Busta Rhymes song and other like 90s hip hop songs. And the difference between this album versus, let's say, Tyler Creator's is that personally for me, this feels more replayable. First, I wasn't initially sold on the theme, but once I heard it together as a cohesive unit of work, it really, really captured the idea without leaning too hard onto the trope. So there's a lot of 80s elements, but the way that they're mixed helps it feel a little bit more modern. I also like the content of her album as well. Lipstain, where she's speaking in French, and I think she also does that in Happy. I like to practice learning languages. I appreciate that when other artists who are American artists introduce that type of stuff into their work. And then the whole Parisian feel, I feel, goes with the trope of like love and the concepts that she's discussing in this album. People might take this whatever way they take it, but I'm usually not like a lovey-dovey type of person, and I don't like when artists are too heavily focused on like a love as a theme. However, I think that the way that Doja Cat did this, it's very elegant, it's very introspective, and it's not just like a typical sad song, relationship song. Other elements where you have to reflect upon yourself and your interactions with the other person, where you are not only thinking about like how you're receiving love, but how you're giving love, and your actions and behaviors and how they could be negative and how they're contributing to some of the problems here. It's not a take that I see a lot from a lot of hip-hop artists in general, but specifically a lot of female rap artists. I feel like a lot of female artists in the hip-hop and R&B space take on the negatives of always experiencing the trauma and like always focusing on the trauma of the experience and not so much the actions that they're going through in the experience and what they're using to overcome it. And I think that concept is present throughout all of the tracks in the album. And I like that there's the pacing of it, how you'll have some low, slow moments and then you'll get picked up. The juxtaposition between Make It Up and One More Time is very nice, because I think Make It Up kind of gets to the point where it's like not as 80s directly influenced, and then we switch back to like an immediate heavy 80s influence. And I like that this is a nicely curated album. It doesn't sound like there's any filler. It doesn't sound like there's any wasted space. I feel like the production is very good as well. The sounds feel rhythmic and smooth, and I appreciate Doja Cat's ability to be creative and expressive and have a fully thought out idea and concept and bring that to fruition. So in a way, it kind of is like sprinkle music without being sprinkle music, you know? Shira 7, shout out. It's like talking about basic boundaries and standards and expectations that are reasonable and communicated, that any person who's trying to seek a healthy relationship, not only with themselves, but with someone else, should have and be able to communicate and express. And I think that if people listen to it as a whole and as a body of work, that message will come through. And I really, really do like that. And I appreciate this record's existence for that reason. So some of my notes that I took for these songs. Cards is a great opening track. The saxophone, the smooth jazz type of feel. It gave me like a Paula Abdul when she's dancing with that cat video. I don't know what it is, but it gave me that type of feeling. Jealous type, I think, especially when I hear it in context with the rest of the songs on the album, it sounds something that would be on Hot Pink that has been like modified slightly, which isn't bad, but it was just something that I was noticing. And then Men was the one that sounded like a Busta Rhymes song to me, because it referenced a sample that was referenced somewhere else. Overall, throughout her entire album, things sound vaguely familiar. I listened to some of these songs when I was younger, but I'm not as well versed in them, so I can't pinpoint exactly what songs they are. Couples Therapy, again, it reminds me kind of like a D'Angelo song. The melody, the feel, the vibe, but I really do like it. I like the content of it. Gorgeous. I do like that it explores vulnerability about why she did her surgery and what happened. And I appreciate that honesty and that reflection. She seems to be a fairly transparent person in that regard. And the beginning of Stranger, I had to keep restarting the song because her voice was so soft that it blended into the melody or the beat a little bit too much, so that I couldn't really discern what she was saying in the track. All Mine is truly a manifestation song. Like, I put that on to a manifestation playlist I have for myself, because it felt like it was truly connected to that type of energy. There's a lot of chanting, a rhythmic tone. So if those who know. Again, Take Me Dancing with SZA is the only feature on the album, but I love it. It's my favorite song. I've played it numerous times over and over again. More Body, Less Mind is something that I've been chanting ever since I've heard this song. I like that Lipstain sounds ethereal. It sounds very loose, free, elegant. It reminds me more of like a 90s R&B or like funk type of sound. It reminds me actually of like Nate Dogg, like a Nate Dogg type of feel to it, if that makes sense. Or like kind of like a Missy Elliott type of song. These are all different elements that sound conflicting, but in my mind, they make sense together. Silly Fun is exactly what the title says, and throughout the entire album, I do enjoy how Doja Cat's titles reflect the content of the song. So this one and the closing track have that very nostalgic feel, that feel like they can be like an upbeat type of 80s song. And I do talk like how she talks about her personal standards and things that are non-negotiables for her, and just her general expectations, which I feel like a lot of women should be reflective of. Acts of Service has the example where she has to use her yeah to break up the tone to get you back into the rap element of Doja. But overall, I really do like this song as well. I like the messaging and the themes in it. The only line I did not like that was weird to me was the "Come Manifest Your Destiny" line. That one was a bit odd, you know. But would it be a Doja Cat album if there wasn't something a little bit weird like that? I like that Make It Up is more of like a traditional rap beat. I like the content and themes, and I feel like this resonates with me as well, of being a person who's fairly dominant in your regular everyday life. Like, sometimes you neglect the people that are very important to you, and to express your gratitude for them in ways that are unique for them that other people don't get to see. One More Time, I like the juxtaposition of it being right after Make It Up, because that juxtaposition allows for like a sound change, a sonic change, before you start wrapping it up and getting back into the more 80s sound to close out the record. It kind of reminds me of like a Blondie song or something, with the chanting and the upbeat elements of the song. I do enjoy it. And this is one of the few songs in the album that has like a prominent like electric guitar feature, which is not weird to me, but I was like, oh, you know, based on some of her aesthetics and her styling, I would have thought there would be more like 80s rock type of things in here, but it truly was mostly a soul, funk, smooth jazz type of vibe. And Happy, to me, this is another one where she's speaking French on here, and I appreciate that as well. This one sounds to me somewhat like a Janet Jackson type of song, or like a Janet Jackson type of beat. Happy makes me feel like I would be wearing, you know, tights and, you know, a nice stiletto heel and fur with red lips, and it's something that's very sexy and sultry and like sensual in that type of way. Then we have the closing track of Comeback, and this one I feel something could be on the movie The Breakfast Club or on Pretty in Pink or some one of these other like cult classic 80s movies. It has that like last hurrah wrap up feel to it. And I do appreciate that it is like somewhat somber. It's like, okay, about having love lost. And, you know, if it's something that is positive or meant to be, it will come back to you. And I think overall, like this project is a very, very intimate expression and a version of Doja Cat that I personally haven't seen. But it was something new that I wasn't expecting from her. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, I didn't have any expectations, but I'm glad that I took a listen, and it's definitely at least an 8. Potentially an 8.5 for me. And that's not even including the visuals and the world building that she did. It's just exclusively about the curation of the album, the structure and theme of the songs, how much the songs resonate to like the title that they are in, and then cohesively together, how do they work together as a body of work, as a theme, and then also sonically, like the production, the mixing, and the lyricism and the lyric. And she wrote this entire album by herself, and this is phenomenal, and I love it. What did you think about the Doja Cat album? Let me know in the comments below. Well, if you've made it this far, I'd like to say thank you so much. You can like and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram. It's at Vesper Cognac. I'm also on Cash App. You can send me something on Cash App as well. But until next time, I'm Vesper Cognac.